Who's the worst fucking realtor you ever worked with?
I can't. If I only have to say one. Oh, Lordy. There's a few out there. A few out there.
Welcome to Behind the Real Estate. I am your host, Paul Panitkoff. I interview real estate agents so we can hear their real stories. Many of the stories that we're going to hear today will not be found in a real estate practice book. We can learn a lot from other real estate agents' mistakes and find the value and the education within their stories. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce the very lovely Carrie Foley, Office Manager, Remax Gold, Green Valley, Benicia, and American Canyon and Vallejo.
And Vallejo.
Carrie, it is a pleasure to have you. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here.
So, Carrie, tell me a little bit about kind of an overview of how you got into real estate.
Oh, goodness. So I kind of grew up in real estate. My very best friend, Carrie Arnold, her father owned the Caldwell Banker in Davis. So Caldwell Banker of Arnold Real Estate. And so I really grew up. My boyfriend's mother was a top producing agent, and I was doing Brian Buffini before I ever knew what Brian Buffini was, helping her deliver pumpkins, and I always found it kind of intriguing. And then, fast forward, I have kids, I'm a stay-at-home mom, and it was always very intriguing to me. And so I literally locked myself in the bedroom at night and studied for about, a month and a half, taking my practice exams, and then went and took my test and never looked back.
Very good, very good. What should a first-time home buyer never do?
Well, that's an interesting question. I think of a lot of the things first-time home buyers should do. They should use a local lender. They should have a trusted realtor advisor. One thing I guess I would say that they should never do is never change your financial picture during that time, and never waive inspections.
What should a new real estate agent expect in their first year in real estate?
So your first year in real estate, I think, is it's a time that you can really set some good practices in place as an agent, right? And that a lot of agents don't, right? You're just so excited to get busy that you don't put a lot of your systems in place. And I think your first year in real estate is a good time to really learn about different systems, figure out what works for you, and really hone in on, using a CRM, learning your tools. And I think your first year is really tough. You just want to get in the game, and it's hard to break into it. Sometimes it can be really frustrating. You'll, somebody near and dear to you might use somebody else that has more experience, and that's really hard on you the first year. I think a lot of agents experience that, and I think it comes with the territory, right? Just they're not always going to list with you. People aren't always going to list with you for their own personal reasons sometimes, right? And so I think as a first year agent, that takes a little getting used to, and I think you really want to get in the game, but use that time to really build some solid foundations.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah, it's good. It's good stuff if you do it right from the get-go. I'm one of those agents that probably didn't do it right from the get-go. I didn't put those solid foundations in, but I'll tell you, I had some really amazing mentors. I think that's another great thing to think about, is really finding somebody that will mentor you or help you through the process.
How should a seller hire a real estate agent?
I'm probably not going to give you your typical answer on that. I feel like every seller and every transaction is its own story, and everybody has different needs. So if you have a very complicated transaction, you're really going to want to find somebody specialized. Maybe it's a probate sale, maybe it's something like that. You're going to want to find somebody who specializes in that. If it's a simple transaction, but maybe you need somebody high energy to do a lot of work, you might want to get a brand new agent that has a great mentor that's really energetic and fired up and really extra, willing to go the extra mile. So I think that every transaction is different, and depending on what the seller's needs are, you might hire a different agent depending on what that is.
What was your worst experience as a real estate agent?
So during the REO years, I was very fortunate to get connected into some banks, and I was able, to continue working, which was really nice. It was a blessing for me. But in that blessing was, a curse for many people that were going through it and losing their homes. And oftentimes when the bank would contact you, you would have to go to the house and see if anybody was still living in the home. And I went to this one house, and the gal, she was young, I would say she was probably in her late 20s, early 30s. She was a nurse, and she had already, the home had already been foreclosed on, but she did not realize it. And it was devastating. She was so distraught because she had lost honor, and she was afraid to tell her parents, and literally fell to the ground crying and begging me to do anything to help her keep her home. It literally gives me chills just thinking about it right now. It was a very, when you're an agent, you deal with people sometimes really great, happy times in their life, right? Maybe they're getting married, maybe they're having a baby, so it's their first home, and you're really with, people during very memorable moments in their life. The downside of it, sometimes, it's a downside, right? Maybe there's been a loss in the family, or they've lost their home. And it's really humbling to have to be a part of that. And, it's not about the money. I know a lot of people think that real estate agents just make money hand over fist. And really, if you're a good realtor, it's always about the people.
I love that.
No.
What is your craziest real estate story?
Well, you might want to edit this one out. The REO years brought me a lot of stories, I'll tell you. So there was a home, and I had to go see if anybody was living in the home, and it was kind of in a part of town that had some problems, and went to the house, and it was full of people. And so I reported back to the bank, there's a problem going on at this house.
Squatters?
Yes, but more than just squatters. Oh my goodness, it was when we went to go back, and you basically kick them out of the house, evict them out of the house. It was just like never-ending people coming out of this house. There was no water running, no electricity in this house.
Ooh,
yeah, and then we have to secure the property, right? You have to make sure it's completely locked up. Well, in the bathroom, there's a window over the bathtub that is not secured. And the bathtub had been used as a toilet area, completely full. And let me just tell you, I thought, I am being punked today. 100% I am being punked. But I did my job. I teetered on the edge of the tub and then leaned over and shut the window. And honest to God, I thought, I don't know what I am doing. I did not sign up for this. It was, I'll never forget that moment. No, don't breathe too deep like that. You do just the opposite.
How do you deal with a situation like that? For anyone who's having to deal with squatters?
It's safety first. It's safety first when it comes to squatters. I remember at that time the police officer said, don't ever come by yourself here again. Like, always call us, we'll meet you here. It's always safety first. There's been many times I've gone in vacant homes and you hear somebody run out the back or something like that. At that point, you just need to walk back outside and wait until somebody comes and you can go and secure the property. It's safety first, 100%.
So you're a manager. What advice would you give to other realtors?
I think one of the most important things you can do as a realtor is really know the other realtors in town, right? A lot of agents want to just focus on their clients, but part of that is having good working relationships with the other realtors in your local association, right? So when you get to a deal and you get to those tough negotiation things that happen in almost every transaction, it doesn't become about you versus me, because then you lose sight of what's important for the client, right? If you have a good working relationship and a good relationship with the other agent, it makes it a better overall experience for both of our clients, right? Some agents I've noticed over the years feel like they really, to feel like they're working for their client, that it has to be a battle, right? Like I gotta win for my client. Well, winning can be a different way, right? Winning can also be having a good relationship and working for the greater good of everybody.
Yeah.
And when you get intense as an agent, that makes it intense for the client. It often leaks over, and then the next thing you know, you just have a more contentious situation. Is that the right word? I'm not sure. But it makes it a little, it just gets a little aggressive sometimes when it doesn't need to be. And so,
talk about memorable in the not so good way.
Right. And I think at the end of the day, what we all want as agents is for our clients to feel like we've done a good job for them. We want it to be a good experience for our clients. And when we have good working relationships with the other agents, then everybody has that experience. So I think that's really important for agents to remember.
To have that positive relationship with the local network of realtors. Right.
And obviously, you're not going to always know who you're working with, but you have to be involved and you have to know the other agents in the community. I think that goes a long ways when you're presenting your offer for your clients. If the other agents know who you are, you have a good reputation for being diligent about your inspections, your paperwork, all of it, right? Being a good realtor is so much more than just, I wrote you a great offer. I think the other thing that agents really miss out on is not thoroughly knowing your contract. That is how you protect your clients. You have to know your contract. When you get into disagreements or somebody has a different opinion of what they think should happen, it really comes down to the contract, and you really need to make a point of really being educated on the contract. That saves a lot of mistakes and frustration for everybody involved.
And embarrassment and representation for your client.
Yeah, all of it.
What it comes down to.
And nobody's perfect, so I'm not pointing fingers at people, but I truly believe, it's important to really read that contract through and through. If there's anything you don't understand as a new agent or whatever, make sure you're doing contract training. Make sure you're staying up to date. The contract changes, right? It's really important. That is how you protect your clients, is knowing and being very clear in your contracts.
Have you ever had to fire a client?
Yes, I did fire a client one time. I fired a client, and that's a really hard thing to do.
Was it a buyer, a seller?
It was a seller, right? Nobody gives up listings, right? That just doesn't happen. But I'll tell you.
Actually, I remember as my office manager, I came to you with that client, that seller I fired.
Yeah.
That was my first time.
Yeah. And
thanks for the good advice.
You know what? You have to sleep and have good health and peace of mind too. And we're not always a fit for each other. Even though we'd like to think that we are, we're really not. And I knew I was never going to meet that seller's expectations, right? Try as I might, it was just never going to happen.
At what point do you realize you should fire or not work with that client anymore?
It was, obviously, once you're in contract, if anything, at that point, you have a responsibility to move forward. But prior to that, I had put her home on the market and we were in the showing stage of it. And, she wanted me to go over to the house after every showing and make sure that the entire house was secure immediately after the showing. And that just was not feasible. And so I realized it pretty quickly. And when I explained that just was not possible, it just was very clear to me that I was never going to be able to meet her expectations. And so rather than continuing to have the relationship, kind of fall apart, I just decided it was better to let her go and find somebody that had more time available to hold her hand that way, right? That was the best thing for her to do, and certainly the best thing for me to do, because there's nothing worse than knowing you're giving your all and still not making somebody happy.
So it never actually went into contract?
No.
Yeah.
No,
a little easier that way.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah. Once you're in contract, you really have a responsibility to see that contract through. You can maybe substitute somebody else in your office sometimes if you know, the relationship falls apart. But most of the time, it ends up just fine, right? But I just knew there was no way that was going to happen. So it was the one time. C'est la vie. And I was immediately relieved, 100%. Yeah, it's not worth when it starts to affect you like that. It's never a good situation.
Never. What is the biggest misconception about a real estate agent?
That's pretty easy. I think we hear it all the time, right? Is that real estate is easy and we're just all in it for the money. I think if people really understood the work that goes into being an agent, and you know, it probably looks like a really big number, you know, when you pay that out to your brokerage and then you take away, you know, people forget that we're actually independent contractors, right? We're actually entrepreneurs. So we're paying our own health care, we're paying all of the licensing fees it is to be a real estate agent. We're paying for all of the marketing for that property, right? So, and of course the brokerage takes its, you know, portion of it.
And then there's Uncle Sam.
And then there's Uncle Sam that takes another healthy portion of it. And if you were to divide that into the hours that you spend into becoming a good real estate agent, not even just necessarily on that transaction. Of course, sometimes we get that super easy transaction and it just looks like it was a piece of cake, and maybe that one particular transaction was a piece of cake, right? But we don't charge somebody more because it was a piece of, or because it was difficult, right? And we don't charge somebody less because it was a piece of cake and it just all fell into place. And there's so much that goes on behind the scenes that I think that we do a little bit of a disservice with our clients, because we want to just make it all look so easy to them and it's just a breeze and it's nothing happening, right? But they don't know that we've maybe looked over the title company and, you know, dodged a bullet, or the title company, the title report, and dodged a bullet there that maybe they hadn't even realized yet. You know, I mean, it just starts from beginning to end. The marketing, the time we spend educating ourselves and getting better at our own profession, fielding phone calls at all hours of the night, because really, if we're doing our job, we're answering our phones. There is no off time for us. There is no holiday time. I don't know of a single realtor that is never off on, you know, that they're never off, right? They're always taking calls on holiday. They're always telling their kids, 2 seconds, honey, I've just got to take this call, right? So it is a way of life, and
you gotta be a little crazy.
You have to love it, is what it is.
Really love service.
You have to love it. And I do love it. I love every story is, you know, it's a new beginning, and I love all the amazing people I get to meet and learn a bit about their life when you're in it. So yeah, it's a little bit of a roller coaster ride.
Carrie, it was such a pleasure to have you on this show. And I think you're one of the greatest office managers, and RE/MAX Gold is very, very fortunate to have you.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much. You know, we've always had a great relationship, and I think the world of you. You're an amazing realtor, and I love this whole podcast that you're doing. So I think it's fun. I love learning from other people also. So thank you. Thank you for having me on.
If you'd like to do a shout out, please do.
I would love to do a shout out. So I have to thank a few people in my career, just because I would never be where I am today without them. So 100% Carrie Arnold, of course, and her lovely dad. Diana Kelly Adams, who really was the most amazing manager, and I could never even live up to what she does. You should have her on your show. She was absolutely taught me everything I know and still does. And Melanie Hallam, of course, because you have to have a sidekick in real estate. You have to have somebody
A
that you
Robin.
can go to with those crazy stories or bounce ideas off of them, or how should I do this? How do we get around that, right? So if I had to give shout outs, oh my gosh, I would be completely remiss if I did not mention Paul McGuire, who took me under his wing when I was a brand new agent and helped me get my first deal going. So, I mean, really just amazing people in my life, and for the better, 100%.
Carrie, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching another episode of Behind the Real Estate. If you have questions that you would like me to ask in upcoming interviews, please leave in the comment section below. Also, don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe button, as well as the notification bell, so you don't miss the latest interview. Thank you.